Well, you don't want to miss this. The long-awaited and unexpected dinner between Bill Maher and Donald Trump finally happened, and a few days ago, Bill Maher opened up about the entire experience, sharing his thoughts and takeaways on this show. But just like he predicted, the backlash came quickly. It wasn't just the usual wave of angry social media comments, though. One of his guests actually called him out on his own show. So today we're going to cover everything he said about the dinner, the angry reactions that followed, and why this moment is so important in today's political climate. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
Just for starters, he laughs. I'd never seen him laugh in public, but he does, including at himself. And it's not fake. Believe me, as a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it. And I thank you for them. Okay, example. In the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, you know the best thing about him? His hair. I said, well, there was also that whole bringing down communism thing, waiting for the button next to the Diet Coke button to get pushed and I go through the trap door. But no, he laughed, he got it.
Funny he says that, because once you stop getting your news from CNN, MSNBC, or the usual lineup of MSM outlets, the picture starts to look a whole lot different. You begin to see and hear Trump without the dramatic cuts, sound bites, or misleading commentary. Just to be clear, the man hasn't changed that much from when he first ran for office. What's changed is how people are starting to view him. More Americans are tuning out the noise and making up their own minds. The monster narrative that was pushed for years doesn't hold up when compared to what he's actually saying or doing. People are beginning to see that the media's hysterical coverage revealed more about their own bias than about Trump himself. The constant outrage and panic headlines have worn very thin, even for someone like Bill Maher.
I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing. People whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days.
I'm actually surprised that Bill is surprised that Trump actually listens. Has he not actually been paying any attention? People like Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., Elon Musk, and even Joe Rogan have all shifted politically, and that doesn't just happen in a vacuum. You don't get people from across the aisle to back you unless you're open to asking and listening to their viewpoints. That's how Trump operates. You don't have to agree with him on everything, but you can't say he doesn't pay attention. Let me give you another example. Just a few weeks ago, he heard out leaders from the auto industry and delayed certain tariffs on Canada and Mexico. That doesn't sound like the authoritarian dictator narrative that media keeps pushing, now does it? Maher also called out the criticism of this dinner as some sort of bending the knee moment, and I think it's safe to say that many people didn't focus on this part of the monologue.
My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room. We were. And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else and we can hold ours?
Exactly. After this segment aired, X was filled with posts criticizing Bill for normalizing Trump or whitewashing him. The ultimate rhino, Joe Walsh, has also been having a literal meltdown. He started his afternoon by posting, "Oh, Bill Maher, you think so much too highly of yourself to think anyone would hate you for having dinner with Trump, followed by a bunch of angry nonsense and wrapping it up with, shame on you, Bill. All you did was normalize him. Maybe that's good for your ratings, but it's bad for the country. Oh, Joe wasn't done yet. About 30 minutes later, he posted again, this time sounding like he was on the verge of tears. So the man who's actively dismantling our democratic institutions, the man who's currently saying F due process, snatching innocent people off our streets and dumping them into foreign gulags, that man is charming in private. And then another 30 minutes pass, Joe finally calms down enough to post a single question, so Bill Maher found the world's biggest, most dangerous con man charming? Yes, Joe, he did. They're even planning a second date soon. On the same episode, Maher had Washington Post journalists on the show, and it was obvious the guy wasn't a big fan of the event and tried to corner Bill, which led to this amazing shutdown.
I believe too much has been made about this, but I think you've fallen into the trap. I think that I represent 99% of the internet when I say this, is that you've played the game of proximity is principle. And what people are worried about is not your motivation. We believe you. We love you, Bill. Everybody loves Bill, right? I'm not questioning your motivation. I'm questioning Trump's, okay? And if we can say that you went there in good faith, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't there in good faith. I mean, you sold him on the Iran deal and he took it in. I mean, give me a break, okay?
The fact that you began your little rant with the internet, that tells me everything. You take your cues from the internet. Good luck.
No, if you listen.
You know, the internet is a cesspool that just wants to fight. And it's okay.
I support what you're trying to do. I'm just saying the expectation that Donald Trump is going to be changed by such
I said in the piece I did not think that was going to happen.
In that case, then go with
I love the people on either side who ignore the parts they don't like and then and I just did it. It wasn't like it was 3 weeks ago.
My guy really said he represents 99% of the internet. Brother, you don't even represent yourself properly. And Bill is right. Other than the Joe Walsh comments, there were plenty of others that went after him, basically disowning him like he joined the dark side. It's crazy how fast they turned on one of their own just because he decided to step out of the echo chamber. Make no mistake, this is Bill Maher, who sometimes quoted Trump out of context just to make him look bad. Piers Morgan was on this panel during the argument too, and his take was perfectly putting things into perspective.
But if you go on social media for 5 minutes now, you just have these tribal fury raging all day long. Everyone's got to be implacably there, implacably here. And actually, most Americans and most Brits, they're not like that. So there's this screaming going on between these tribes and actually walking across that line, sitting down, having dinner, having a laugh, having a chat, and then the idea that Bill Maher is now going to stop criticizing Donald Trump with him is preposterous.
I didn't do it before. I didn't do it in the monologue. I didn't do it with Steve Bannon.
First off, if Bill ever stopped criticizing Trump, he might not have much material left for half of his show. But more importantly, the point of this dinner wasn't about changing anyone's mind. It was to prove that two people with very different views can actually just sit down and share a meal, moving on with their lives. That's a big deal nowadays, considering how the far left has radicalized people so much that a civil conversation has become rare and some affront to them. But I'd love to know your thoughts here, so let's get the conversation rolling in the comments down below. And if you want your friends to get their coverage from an independent source like us, please share the video with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.